She hired a broke guy as a boyfriend. But he's the CEO who's been watching her for 20 years. Emily was staring out her apartment window, the city lights casting a golden glow in the darkness. She felt trapped in monotony, her heart yearning for anything that would break the cycle. Little did she know, danger lurked just beneath the surface of her normal life. As she scrolled through her phone, a notification popped up, Gabe hired as boyfriend for hire. It seemed ridiculous, absurd even, like something out of a cheesy rom-com, but a thrill coursed through her like electricity, igniting an old desire for excitement. She clicked, her curiosity piqued. What could possibly go wrong? And then, there was Gabe, a broke guy with rumpled clothes and charming, messy hair. He stepped into her life, full of quirky jokes and an easy smile. Every laugh, every shared moment made her desperate core flutter. But what caught her off guard was the almost unnerving intensity in his gaze, as if he could see right through her, peeling back layers she never intended to reveal. Subtle hints started to surface. How did he know her favorite dessert? Why did he seem so familiar? It was as if their paths were intertwined, tangled in fate's cruel web, but the strangest thing? The whispers. The murmurs in the coffee shop where they first met. Did you hear about the CEO who disappeared? No way. Did you see the way Gabe looked at her? Suddenly, her innocent fling turned shadowy. The world around her hummed with unsettling energy, and Emily's heart raced faster with each detail. Who was this guy really? Was he a mere actor in her life or part of something darker? The lingering question: what had he been watching for all those years? What connection did he hold to her past? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Days turned into a chaotic blend of shared laughter and brewing unease. Emily's chest tightened with every glance he threw her way, full of secrets, promises, and perhaps a hint of danger. She couldn't shake the eerie feeling that Gabe was more than just a broke boyfriend. One night, under the dim light of her living room, the air thickened with tension. She asked him directly, "What do you really want, Gabe?" His eyes darkened, a storm stirring within. "You'll never believe me." The truth hung heavy, suspended between them. And just like that, the ground beneath her felt precarious. Who was this man that played both the roles of comfort and chaos? With her heart pounding in her ears, the only thing Emily knew for sure was that she was in way over her head. And the deeper she fell, the less certain she felt about climbing back out. What would happen next? Emily's heart raced, caught in the whirlwind of uncertainty. There was something electric about Gabe, a force that pulled her closer even as caution screamed at her to pull away. She felt exposed, like a piece of art laid bare, inviting scrutiny. His cryptic response lingered in the air, heavy and dark. "You'll never believe me." What on earth did that mean? Gabe shifted nervously, his nonchalant demeanor cracking under the weight of her question. His eyes flared with something: fear? Determination? She couldn't tell. But she could sense the internal struggle playing out like a drama behind those captivating eyes. "Emily, before we dive into this, you need to know that everything I do has a reason," he began. "A reason?" she echoed, trying to keep her voice steady. "What does that even mean?" He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, pacing her small living room. "It's complicated. You've been part of my life for a long time, even if you don't know it." Her stomach dropped. Memories flashed, innocent moments, long before she'd ever met him, times filled with laughter and familiarity. How was that possible? "Stop. Just stop." She nearly shouted, heart racing faster. "This isn't some twisted fairy tale. Who are you?" As he hesitated, the silence stretched between them, taut as a wire. The tension shimmered, making her skin prickle. She didn't know whether to feel frightened or fascinated. Was he really watching her for years? Did he know everything about her? Her pulse pounded in her ears. "I need to tell you everything," he finally breathed out, voice racked with emotion. "But it's not safe, not yet." "Safe? Is someone after you? After us?" She took a step back, her chest tightening with a realization that chilled her to the core. Gabe paused, his expression a cocktail of regret and something darker, something more careful. "Yes," he whispered. "There are people who don't want me to talk." Every instinct in her screamed to run. The whispers she had overheard suddenly felt more real, more sinister. Their moment was shattered when another knock echoed through the door, sharp and demanding. Both jumped, but Gabe's face hardened into a mask she didn't recognize. He shot her a look, urgency dancing in his eyes. "Hide now." Emily barely had time to process his command before he pushed her behind the couch, every muscle in her body tensed for fight or flight. She took small, shallow breaths, the sound of her own heartbeat loud in her ears. The knocking continued, relentless and invasive. "Open up. We know you're in there." A deep, menacing voice called out. It chilled her to the bone. When Gabe spoke, it was low and commanding, a stark contrast to Emily's panic. "Just a minute. Don't play coy with us." The voice persisted, edged with impatience, as the sounds of footsteps echoed just outside the door. Emily risked a glance over the couch, her stomach churning. She hadn't asked for this. A few simple moments, a little excitement, now reality had taken a sharp turn into shadows. Would Gabe protect her, or was he the storm she needed to flee from? "This isn't over," he vowed under his breath, but as he faced the door, his face hardened, revealing just how deep the danger truly ran. What would happen if they opened that door? Emily's heart thundered with every possibility, not knowing that the true depths of her entanglement with Gabe were only beginning to unravel. Emily's breath hitched as the footsteps thudded outside, like a sinister drumbeat syncing with her racing heart. She pressed herself against the floor, the fabric of the couch scratching her cheek, stifled tears blurring her vision. 1,000 thoughts swirled in her mind, drowning out everything except the urgent need for clarity. "Don't move," Gabe commanded, still focused on the door. The tension emanating from him enveloped her like a heavy fog, thick and suffocating. She could hardly process the danger. They could be anyone. The police? Some gang? A random intruder? Who are they? What do they want? She whispered, her voice trembling. Gabe didn't answer, his eyes were locked on the door, his jaw clenched tight. That tranquil facade of his was cracking, revealing a man wrestling with demons. Just then, a loud crash erupted outside. The sound jolted her stomach, echoing the feeling of dread sweeping through her. "Open up. This is your last warning." The voice shouted, more threatening this time. Emily's mind raced. Should she run? Try to break a window? But where could she go? Would she even make it out alive? She pressed her palms against her temples, desperate for some kind of clarity. "Stay close," Gabe said quietly, but she saw his hand twitch toward something hidden behind the couch. A weapon? Was he going to fight? He couldn't take them on, could he? A loud bang reverberated against the door, causing the entire frame to rattle. Emily flinched at the sudden assault. Every muscle in her body was coiled tight, instincts urging her to flee. But escape felt impossible now, trapped in this moment, each second extending endlessly. Gabe turned back to her, and for the first time, she saw the raw fear in his expression. This wasn't just about him, it was about her, too. "Emily, if it gets bad, if things go south," he hesitated, his gaze intensifying, "I need you to trust me. Run. Run." The word felt foreign and absurd. How could she run when everything was tumbling down around her? "You think I'd leave you behind? Don't be stupid." He snapped, though it was laced with panic. "You're not safe here." Before she could respond, the door splintered open with a forceful kick, the wood cracking like thunder. The two men invading her space looked like wolves, predatory and ruthless. They scanned the room, their eyes settling on Gabe, and a cruel smile spread across one of their faces. "There he is," one of them proclaimed, stepping forward, shadows wreathing around him like dark mist. "Thought you could hide from us, huh?" Gabe stepped in front of Emily almost instinctively, a physical barrier against the chaos threatening to consume them. "Get out," he barked, his voice low and menacing, though she could hear the tremor beneath. "What's the plan here, Gabe? A little game of hide-and-seek?" The second man laughed darkly, moving closer, eyes flaring with malice. "You've been borrowing things from us that you don't have the right to." Panic surged in Emily's veins. Memories of the gentle Gabe flashed before her, but now he stood like a statue facing a cruel storm. Who was he really? Suddenly, she heard the strangest sound, a crackle, not from the men, but from behind the couch where Gabe had hidden something. A small device, perhaps a phone or a camera. Panic turned to confusion as Gabe continued to stand his ground. "Get away from her," he demanded, a spark of resolve igniting in his eyes. A flicker of fear coursed through Emily. This was not just a fight for survival, this was a confrontation steeped in secrets, darker than she ever imagined. As the tension snapped tighter, the men exchanged knowing glances, and something dark loomed over them, an impending doom she could almost feel wrapping around her throat. What happens now? She thought. The lines of loyalty and betrayal blurred in the chaos. What choices would she make when truth collided with desperation? "Let us see who really hides in the shadows," one of the intruders sneered, raising a weapon toward Gabe. It was now or never. Would she remain a spectator, drowning in her fears? Or would she find the courage to step into the light, unraveling the enigma of Gabe and facing the truth that could shatter everything? Just as she took a step forward, the doorframe cracked again, a low rumble of approaching danger. What would she choose? Would she have the courage to shift the course, or would everything unravel in an instant? Emily's heart thundered in her chest as time distorted around her. The air felt thick, stinging her nostrils with every breath, and the two intruders loomed like entwined shadows. Gabe, muscle-taut and eyes blazing with determination, stood shield-like before her. The reality was suffocating, nothing felt real, everything had warped into a nightmare. "Gabe," she gasped, trying to get his attention, but the fear in her voice was lost in the gravitational pull of danger. "Get back!" he shouted, the command echoing through the dimly lit room. He reached behind the couch, the hidden device now stark in contrast against the mounting tension, the only potential line of defense. "Don't be foolish, Gabe." The first intruder growled, stepping closer, weapon glinting ominously under the sparse light. "This doesn't end with you playing hero." Emily felt as if she were caught in a whirlwind, oscillating between the primal instinct to flee and the heartbeat of urgency to stay. Would she lose Gabe if she ran? Could she really save him? Her legs trembled, waiting for guidance that wouldn't come. "I'll make this easy," the second man sneered, his smile growing sharper, more menacing. "Hand over what you took, and we'll be on our way." "What did you take?" Emily blurted out, her voice cracking with confusion. The weight of the question hung in the air, fragile as glass, ready to shatter. Gabe's eyes flickered towards her, pleading silently. "Nothing you need to worry about," he breathed, a thin veneer of calm cloaking his voice. But before more could be exchanged, the intruder's focus narrowed back into deadly intent. "Bullshit," the first man spat, advancing menacingly. "We know you've got something we need. Something that puts you squarely in our sights." The thought of how long Gabe had concealed this from her twisted in her stomach, tight and heavy. What else had he not told her? What had he gotten himself into? Each unanswered question felt like a raw wound, festering under the weight of looming dread. Then, without warning, Gabe lunged, pulling the device from its resting place. It caught the light, revealing a flash of silver. It looked like a gun, but it was something else entirely. A determined resolve surged through him. Stay back. I'm not afraid to use this. But the men laughed, a dark sound that reverberated through her heart. You're just digging your grave deeper, Gabe, the second man mocked, raising his weapon higher. Do you really think this little toy can save you? The tension snapped as the air thickened with desperation. Emily's breaths quickened. She was drowning in the overwhelming need to act. Stop! She screamed, stepping forward, a barricade against her own fear, pushing past the limitations that kept her pinned. Emily, don't! Gabe shouted, eyes wide, pleading, but there was something in her that screamed for action, a spark ignited by the instinct to protect, to break through the shadows. I'm not letting you hurt him. She yelled, her voice rising, trembling yet fierce, and in that moment, the men reeled, assessing her sudden braveness. What they hadn't expected was her, standing as a force of defiance, challenging their authority, challenging everything they stood for. The clock was ticking. She felt hope surging through her veins, fiery yet fragile. Could she be the catalyst that turned the tide? Think hard, Gabe warned, as his fingers tightened around the device. You don't want this, oh, but we do, the first man interrupted, advancing again, murder glinting in his eyes. And we'll take it from both of you. Deep down, Emily could feel it, a storm brewing, chaos ready to erupt at the wrong move. She needed to make a choice. Would she stand firm and face the burden of this storm? Or would she shrink back into the shadows, ceding all hope? Just as the moment coiled tightly in suspense, the ground trembled beneath their feet. A loud crash from the hallway made them all flinch, slicing through the tension like a knife. What now? The suddenness of the new threat pulled her away from the symphony of fear and bravado. Were they being rescued, or was this just a new layer of danger? Emily's heart raced as she turned to Gabe, their fates intertwined, dangling on a precipice of uncertainty. What would happen next? Would this moment solidify their bond or tear them apart? The crash reverberated through the room, and for a heartbeat, silence fell. The world seemed to pause, the only sound the pounding of Emily's heart. The intruders turned, distracted, eyes darting toward the darkened hallway where the noise had erupted. Was this the moment for them to reassert control, or could it be their undoing? Gabe's grip on the device tightened. Stay ready, he urged quietly, his voice barely above a whisper. The fear in his eyes mirrored her own, a shared understanding that something terrible was about to unfold. Emily's lungs burned, but she focused on the doorway. The shadows shifted, and a figure began to emerge, silhouetted against the faint light spilling from the hallway. It stepped forward, revealing itself to be a tall woman, dressed in a dark leather jacket. Her eyes scanned the scene like a hawk searching for prey. Hands up! She shouted, her voice commanding as she brandished her own weapon, an intimidating piece that looked menacing in her steady grip. The intruders flinched, momentarily startled by this unexpected arrival. What the hell? The second man yelled, scrambling to redirect his attention. The woman didn't blink. Get away from them! She ordered, accentuating her point with a fierce glare. Emily's heart leaped at the possibility of salvation. Who was this woman? The first intruder began to laugh, a low, mocking sound. You think you can just waltz in here and play the hero? You're outnumbered. Power isn't always about numbers, the woman replied, an unreadable expression on her face. It's about conviction. And I'm more than enough. Before a word could escape any of their lips, she moved with lightning speed, aiming her weapon straight at the intruders. Time slowed as it became a dance of intentions and nerve. Get out! Or I swear I'll use it, she threatened, a mask of resolve covering the uncertainty that might slip through if she hesitated, but the two intruders didn't seem fazed. Desperate for survival, they rushed toward her in tandem, hostility igniting like a flame. Gabe and Emily reacted instinctively. No. Emily's voice was raw as both she and Gabe jumped forward, hoping to shield the woman who had just stepped into their chaos. The explosion of sound as the first shot fired echoed off the walls, splintering the air. Emily felt the world tilt, her heart dropping as the weight of the moment crashed down on her. The woman staggered but regained her footing, her focus unbroken. "Run!" she shouted to Emily and Gabe, never taking her eyes off the intruders. But the frantic chaos was already unfurling. One of the intruders had gotten too close, brandishing his weapon without mercy. "Emily, we need to," Gabe started, but words were lost to time as bodies collided in a fierce scuffle. Amidst the chaos, the room erupted into screams, barbed with cries for survival. Emily moved without thinking, adrenaline coursing through her veins as she glanced at Gabe. Their eyes met, an unspoken promise fused between them. They couldn't let fear win. As the fight exploded around them, an unexpected sound cut through chaos, a deafening alarm blared, sending vibrations through the floor like a warning siren. The intruders froze, confusion flickering in their eyes. What the hell just happened? The first man shouted, panic rising as he fumbled for his escape route. Gabe seized the moment. "Now!" he yelled, diving toward Emily. In the frenzy, they moved as one, racing for the back door just as the woman fired another shot. The air crackled with tension, thick enough to slice. Would they make it out? Would the sirens herald their escape or summon something worse? As they burst through the door into the night, Emily glanced back, heart pounding. The sound of heavy footsteps chased them into the shadows, and she whispered hoarsely, "What now?" Behind them, the world behind closed doors held a devastating truth, one they weren't prepared for. Whatever waited for them in the shadows loomed closer, a deeper darkness echoing their unyielding fight for survival, and a truth lingered unspoken between them. Who had really sent that woman to their rescue? Emily's fear clawed back into her throat as she ran, knowing too well that new questions were about to unfold, ones that might change everything. They stumbled into the alley, the cold night air hitting Emily like a slap. It was a stark contrast to the chaos they'd just escaped. Gabe's breath came in quick bursts beside her, panic etched on his face as he glanced back at the door they'd fled. The sirens blared on, drowning out their thoughts and urging them to flee even faster. Who was that woman? Gabe gasped, struggling to keep pace. "We need to find somewhere safe. Fast." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed from behind them, each step nearing, and their instinct to run intensified. Heart racing, Emily pulled Gabe down an even darker path that split off from the alley, desperation channeling her instincts. "Something isn't right," she panted, scanning their surroundings. The flickering streetlights provided little comfort. "What if she's after us too?" "No." Gabe shot back, urgency thickening his words. "She saved us. We need to move. We can't look back." She nodded but couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Shadows danced along the walls, warping their perception of safety. Each creak of the building and rustle of trash felt like a reminder that they were not alone. Something was pursuing them. After what felt like an eternity, they ducked into an abandoned storefront, the thick smell of mildew and dust enveloping them. Emily pressed her back against the wall, her breath coming in heavy bursts, trying to steady her hammering heart. "Do you think she's really on our side?" she whispered, tugging at Gabe's shirt to draw him closer. He hesitated. "I want to believe that." His voice trailed off. "But we don't know what her agenda is." Emily closed her eyes, the weight of uncertainty crashing down. How could they trust someone who had just appeared out of nowhere? Questions swirled like leaves in a storm. Was she really trying to help, or was this a trap? Suddenly, a crash erupted from the alleyway outside, splintering her thoughts. She and Gabe exchanged horrified looks. "Hide!" Emily hissed, pulling Gabe behind an old display counter, the glass shards glimmering like stars in the darkness. The storefront's fragile structure shuddered just as footsteps began to close in. "Where are they?" a voice shouted, distorted by rage. It was one of the intruders, the one who laughed earlier. His tone was menacing. "They couldn't have gotten far." Gabe's hand tightened around Emily's wrist. Each breath felt like a gamble, the weight of their fear pressed against her chest. They must be around here, the man continued, pacing back and forth just outside the window. There's nowhere to run. You can come out now. It's futile to hide. What do we do? Emily whispered, her voice barely audible beneath the tension. She felt the cool metal of the device against her skin, a reminder of why they had ended up here in the first place. Gabe's eyes shifted to the window, a flicker of determination igniting in their depths. We can't let him find us. But as the intruder's shadow loomed closer, a new sound shattered the stillness, the revving of an engine. It was loud, aggressive. Emily felt her heart leap. Could it be the woman? Or was it something more sinister? The man's demeanor changed, he stepped back, glancing toward the sound. What the hell is that? The tension thickened like smoke in the air. Emily dared to inch closer to the window, straining to see. What is happening? Gabe urged, pulling her back, the pulse of danger palpable. I don't know, I have to look. Emily insisted, fighting against the pull of his grip. As she peered through the cracked glass, a blinding light swept across the alley. Then came the unmistakable noise, a crash like thunder, and she felt the ground shudder beneath her feet. Reality collided with fear as the reverberation shook every fiber of her being. She turned back to Gabe, mouth dry and eyes wide. What is going on out there? But before he could respond, the storefront trembled again, and the intruder yelled, "What is happening?" Emily's instincts screamed at her to move, but adrenaline melted into confusion. All of it: who had rescued them, who was chasing them, the woman. They overlapped into one chaotic ball of dread. In that moment, she realized something deeper was at play. Someone was orchestrating this, and she was right in the center of it. What do we do now? Gabe's expression turned grave, and just as he opened his mouth, another gunshot rang out, reverberating in the night. The real game was just beginning, and the stakes were rising. As the darkness pressed closer, all they could do was brace themselves for the truth that was about to crash down on them. What would they discover when the dust finally settled? The dust settled as the sound of the gunshot echoed, a haunting reminder that danger was uncomfortably close. Emily's heart raced, the adrenaline surged, each beat pushing her closer to a decision. Stay low, Gabe urged, his voice barely a whisper. They huddled beneath the counter, the grime and cold seeping into their skin. She could feel his pulse matching hers, an urgent rhythm of survival. Outside, chaos erupted. Tires screeched, and the roar of the engine intensified. Emily risked a glance through the glass. Flickers of headlights cut through the darkness, illuminating the narrow alley like a spotlight. There, in the swirling night, she saw shapes: two cars darting towards the entrance like wolves hunting their prey. Emily, don't! Gabe hissed, yanking her back just as a flash of movement caught her eye, a figure darting across the alley. What is happening? She breathed, confusion lacing her words. The woman who had intervened before. Or was this another threat? Stay hidden. Gabe pressed, but she couldn't help herself. She had to know. With trembling hands, Emily pulled herself up slightly, peering through the gap in the shattered glass. The vehicle skidded to a halt, tires screeching against the asphalt. Doors flew open, and men dressed in dark clothes spilled out, weapons glinting under the flickering streetlights. This is getting out of control, one of the newcomers barked, scanning the area. We need to find them now, they have the device. Her heart sank. The device. The one her father had left behind. It wasn't just a piece of tech, it was a key to something bigger, something which made them the targets. Find them. Another man shouted, frustration boiling over. We have to end this before they unveil it. The tension in the air thickened as the gang spread out, their movements quick and calculating. Suddenly, one of them turned towards the shop. Emily's breath caught in her throat. Over here. He yelled, pointing directly at their hiding spot. Run! Gabe shouted, his panic igniting a fire in her veins. Emily bolted, her feet pounding against the debris-strewn floor as she followed Gabe toward the back of the store. They crashed through a door that led to a darkened storage room, the smell of rust filling the air. She stumbled but caught herself, pushing past forgotten boxes and old furniture, searching for another exit. Gabe was right beside her, fear and determination etched into his features. "There has to be a back door," he whispered. A loud crash resonated from the front of the store. "They're coming," Gabe urged, eyes wide with urgency. Then they heard it, a voice carrying through the air. "We'll smoke them out, just take everything apart." Time was running out. Emily's senses heightened. She spotted a small window high on the wall, the kind that would barely be big enough for them to squeeze through. "Help me up," she said, adrenaline driving her. Gabe nodded and hoisted her up, her fingers curling around the edge of the frame. The sounds of shuffling and angry shouts drew closer. She could just imagine the gang tearing through the shop, desperate to find them. "Emily." She looked back and saw Gabe frozen, fear shadowing his eyes. "Go," she urged, her voice higher than she intended. He climbed up awkwardly, and together they heaved upwards until she felt the cool breeze against her cheek. Just a bit more, and they'd be out. But suddenly, the doors slammed open. "There they are," someone yelled, and an ominous silence fell. Time froze as both of them squeezed through the window, barely making it out just as a shot rang out, shattering the air. Emily gasped, tumbling onto the ground below, but it didn't matter, they were moving. "No!" Gabe shouted, landing hard beside her. "You have to focus, just keep running." As they disappeared behind the building into the night, they could still hear chaos behind them, shouts, crashing noises, the sharp reports of guns mixing with their frantic breaths. What they didn't know was that beyond the chaos, a new player had entered the game. And she was one step ahead of them. Emily paused to catch her breath, eyes scanning the darkness. "Who are they?" Gabe shook his head, frustration evident in the lines of his face. "We'll figure that out later. Right now, we need to get somewhere safe." "But what about the woman?" Suddenly, the absence of their mysterious ally loomed like a shadow over their minds. Were they really alone in this? Just then, the roar of an engine filled the silence again, ripping through their thoughts. Emily turned, and her breath hitched. The big black SUV pulled up, the headlights glaring into the night, illuminating their escape route. Was help arriving or another threat? Emily's heart raced as she waited for the door to open, unsure of who would step out next. "Get ready to run again," Gabe whispered, tension coursing through them both. And then came the voice, unmistakable in its command. "Get in if you want to live." Were they stepping into salvation or a trap? Emily hesitated. The voice was confident but carried an unmistakable edge, like a knife ready to slice through the chaos that surrounded them. "You're kidding me, right?" she asked, her instincts battling with desperation. She didn't know if this was help or a deeper pit of danger. "Emily, we don't have time." Gabe pulled her arm, eyes darting between the SUV and the darkness creeping behind them. The tension was palpable, a wire stretched to its limit, ready to snap. She glanced back as shadows moved. The gang was relentless, hunting them like prey. With a deep breath, she steeled herself and moved. "Fine, let us go," she shouted, scrambling toward the open door. The inside of the SUV was shrouded in darkness, but she could make out the silhouette of a woman inside, her expression unreadable under the harsh glow of the dashboard lights. Gabe jumped in after her, slamming the door just as a barrage of gunfire erupted outside. "Drive," the woman commanded, slamming her foot on the gas. The engine roared to life, and they were thrown back into their seats as the tires screeched against the asphalt. The SUV shot down the alley, leaving chaos behind. "Who are you?" Emily gasped, trying to catch her breath. She glanced at the woman's profile. There was something striking about her, like a coiled snake ready to strike. "Name's Veronica," the driver said without looking. Her eyes remained fixed on the road, a look of fierce determination etched into her features. "And I'm the one who can get you out of this mess." Gabe leaned forward, urgency in his voice. "They're after a device. We didn't even know we had it until tonight. You've got to understand, we didn't ask for this." Veronica finally turned her head, a smirk playing at the corners of her mouth. "That's funny. Everyone thinks they can dodge the game. But if you're in possession of that device, you're already way over your head. What do you know about it?" Emily pressed, heart pounding in her chest. The adrenaline was making it hard to think. There were too many variables, too many unknowns. "A lot more than you," Veronica shot back. "Your father was smart to keep it hidden. But someone wants it bad enough to kill for it. That's where you come in." Panic surged. "Kill? Like those guys back there?" "Exactly," Veronica said, focusing back on the road. The SUV sped around a corner, tires squealing. "And now they know you're alive, which means they won't stop until they find you. So we need to get somewhere safe, and fast." Gabe's brow furrowed as he listened. "We need answers first. What's really going on here?" "Answers?" Veronica laughed darkly. "The truth is no one's safe in this game. Not you, not me. I've spent years watching every move those guys make. Your father's device is the key to a war you didn't even know existed." As if on cue, the growl of another engine echoed behind them. Emily turned sharply, headlights bore down from behind, shadows flaring beneath the intensity. "They're coming. Damn it." Veronica gritted her teeth, pressing the pedal to the metal. The SUV lunged forward, but Emily could see the vehicle gaining behind them, headlights blindingly bright. "What do we do?" Gabe shouted, panic lacing his words. "Hold on." Veronica shouted, her knuckles white as she veered onto a side street without slowing down. Swerving sharply, they lurched to the right, the tires barely holding on to the grip. Emily's breath caught as she glanced back. The pursuing car followed, relentless. This chase was turning into a nightmare, every moment more fraught than the last. Emily's heart pulsed in her ears, the world outside blurring into streaks of light and dark. They were hurtling towards an uncertain fate, but the fear of the unknown was quickly morphing into something else, an overwhelming determination. Just then, Veronica slammed the brakes, the SUV skidding to a stop in a narrow gap between two buildings. "Get out!" she urged, urgency dripping from her tone. "Now!" "What?" Gabe shouted, confusion flashing across his face. Before Veronica could explain, a loud crash echoed behind them, the pursuing car barreling through the alley, smashing against the side of the building near them. Emily's heart leapt into her throat. "Move it!" Veronica shouted again, already opening her door and jumping out, adrenaline pumping. With no other choice, Emily and Gabe followed suit, sprinting into the darkness beyond the alley, the sounds of chaos still ringing in their wake. They had no idea where they were going, only that they had to keep moving, but just ahead, in the shadows, Emily spotted something glimmering in the faint light. A metal box marked with a familiar insignia, one she'd seen on her father's old documents. "Wait!" she yelled, stopping abruptly. "What is it?" Gabe asked, nearly colliding with her. I think it's his." She raced over, kneeling down, fingers trembling as she reached for the box. As soon as she touched it, the air seemed to shift. An electric buzz surged through her, and a sense of dread washed over her. What had they stumbled upon? The sound of footsteps echoed nearby, and the darkness swallowed them again. "Emily!" Gabe called out, urgency in his voice. "We have to go." But she couldn't shake the feeling that this box, this key to her father's secrets, was more than just a target. "Emily, now!" Gabe urged, gripping her wrist tightly. As they slinked back into the shadows, Emily made a decision. The pursuit was nowhere near over, and neither were the revelations that awaited them, and in that moment, she knew, everything was about to change. What had once been a surprise was now a full-fledged war, and she was its unwitting soldier. Would she be able to face the truth, or would the truth consume her? Emily's heart raced as she clutched the metal box tighter, as if it might provide her some sort of protection from the growing danger. Gabe's grip on her wrist felt like an anchor, pulling her back from that abyss of uncertainty lurking just ahead. Emily. His voice was sharp, laced with panic. We have to go. I can't just leave it. She shook her head, eyes darting between the box and the shadows that loomed closer. The air crackled with tension, each second stretched thin, like a bowstring ready to snap. A low rumble of voices crept closer, and her stomach twisted in a knot. They were coming. She could hear footsteps on gravel, muffled but unmistakable. Time was running out. Emily, please. Gabe's voice turned desperate. They'll find us. If you know anything about the box, we can figure it out later. With a shaky breath, she finally tore her gaze from the box and nodded. Okay. She reluctantly released her hold and stood up, feeling exposed without the weight of the box in her hands. Run. Veronica's voice cut through the tension as she motioned for them to retreat deeper into the shadows of the alleyway. They sprinted down the side street, feet pounding against the pavement, adrenaline pulsing through their veins like fire. Emily's mind whirled with a flurry of thoughts, questions crashing against each other. What was in that box? Why had her father kept it hidden? And what kind of war was Veronica talking about? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the alley behind them, the sound of metal scraping against metal. Emily risked a glance back and saw a group of figures emerging from the shadows, faces obscured by hoods and masks. They were closing in, their movements synchronized, like wolves on a hunt. Faster! Gabe shouted, a new urgency in his voice. As they rounded a corner, Veronica stopped abruptly, scanning their surroundings. This way. She darted down another narrow path, and they followed closely, the sounds of their pursuers growing louder. Turning hard, Emily bashed into something solid. Bodies were everywhere. Somehow, they had stumbled into a small gathering. People huddled together under a flickering street lamp, faces drawn with fear and confusion. Veronica? What the hell? One of the men barked, stepping forward. Help! She shouted, voice high with anxiety. We're being hunted. They shared a tense exchange of glances before the man nodded sharply. Get them behind the bar. Without hesitation, they were pulled into a cramped, dimly lit space. The atmosphere shifted abruptly, the fear of the street replaced by a cloak of determination. Emily pressed herself against the wall, heart pounding, struggling to catch her breath. What now? She gasped, breathless from running. Veronica's eyes darted, weighing options. They'll come here. They always do. She turned to the man. Prep the perimeter. Make sure they can't escape. The man nodded and rushed off, leaving Emily and Gabe still panting, uncertainty hanging heavy in the air. Who are they? Gabe whispered, urgency etching lines across his forehead. Local gang, Veronica replied grimly, eyes narrowing. Smart, ruthless. They've been searching for your father's device for a long time, and now they're on your tail. Emily felt a cold shiver creeping down her spine. But why was it so important? Veronica stepped closer, the intensity in her eyes piercing through the dim light. Because it has the potential to shift power. It's not just a tool. It's a weapon in the right hands. A sudden crash pulled them back into the moment as the sounds of chaos erupted outside. Stay low. Veronica ordered, crouching. Through the grimy windows, Emily peeked outside. The gang was closing in, directing flashing lights and shouting orders. Fear gripped her, a cold fist wrapped around her throat. They had nowhere to run. The walls felt like they were closing in, every breath a reminder of the danger they faced. Emily's mind raced. We need to learn how to use that device, she said, voice trembling but resolute. If it's so powerful, we need control over it. Veronica shot her a sharp look. Do you really know what you're asking for? This is bigger than any of us. If you unleash that device, there's no going back. But deep down, Emily felt a flicker of hope and determination ignite. She was done being a pawn. This was her legacy, her chance to rewrite her story. Then teach me, she said with newfound conviction. Just then, the door rattled violently, sending tremors through their sanctuary. The urgency slammed against their resolve. Ready yourself, Veronica warned, poised to act. As the door burst open, a figure stormed in, silhouetted against the chaos outside. And all at once, reality snapped as the figure stepped into the light, revealing a face Emily never expected to see again. A wave of disbelief rolled through her. Emily. The voice was familiar, haunted by years of absence, filled with secrets she thought she'd buried. The room froze, and all of their lives hung in the balance as the last piece of her father's puzzle fell into place. What had she truly gotten herself into? As the figure stepped forward, Emily's heart dropped into her stomach. It was her brother, Alex. She had thought he was gone forever. Disbelief swirled within her like a storm, memories crashing against the walls of her mind. "Hey Alex?" she stammered, tears welling in her eyes. Emily. His voice was a mixture of relief and caution. He glanced at Gabe and Veronica, sizing them up. "You've started something dangerous." Emily's head spun. "What are you doing here? Where have you been?" "I'll explain later," he said, urgency threading his words. "We need to get out of here. They're coming." Behind her, the door trembled as fists battered against the wood, but her world had shifted in the instant she saw him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Emily's voice cracked under the weight of years lost. "You just disappeared. We thought you were." Alex stepped closer, voice low and serious. "I had to go. There were things you can't understand. Things Dad was involved in, things he hid from us. They're after the device." Veronica's focus shifted. Fred knew too much, and now they think his kids might kids. Alex interjected sharply. Emily's not a kid. She's been through enough. The pain of his absence echoed in their tension. Gabe stepped forward, trying to control the chaos. "Whatever the past holds, we need a plan. Those guys outside the gang, they want to stop." "Agreed," Veronica chimed in, taking charge. "We need to find a way to reinforce this place and fight back. But not with just the device. It's too risky. We need intel." "Intel?" Emily's mind raced. The pain of her brother's absence mingled with the fear of their imminent danger. "What intel do we need?" "The truth about the device," Alex said gravely. "I know where it leads, and it's not just a weapon. It's the key to exposing a much bigger plot, one that involves the gang, other companies, and a lot of money." The door shuddered violently, a loud crash sending a tremor through the ground beneath them. Emily pressed her palms against her temples, mind spiraling with confusion, pain, and urgency. "Let us get behind here," Veronica motioned towards a dusty old shelf that might buy them some time. As they scrambled to the far corner, their breathing quickened, the looming threat bearing down on them with every heartbeat. In the cramped space, Alex dug into his pocket and pulled out a small device. "This is what gives us an edge. It tells us their movements, helps us hide from view. If we can set it up on the roof, we can look for a way out and track them." "Tracking?" Gabe echoed, glancing nervously toward the door. "We need to start fighting back." The urgency was palpable, heat rising in the cramped space as they exchanged glances filled with heartbreak and determination. Who knew how badly the gang wanted the device? They could lose everything if they didn't act now. "Okay, here's the plan," Emily said, heart pounding, wrapping her fingers around the small device, dragging her back to her father. "Alex and I will go to the roof. Veronica, you create distractions, and Gabe, stay on the ground. Keep watch. Can you all do that?" Gabe nodded, eyes fierce. I'm in. Yeah, Veronica eyed the door and nodded. We've got this. Without hesitation, Emily and Alex darted towards the back exit while Veronica and Gabe prepared distractions to buy them time. As they crept onto the roof, the world felt impossibly silent, as if holding its breath. The weight of decision pressed around them, heavy and suffocating. You really think it'll work? Alex asked nervously, his usual confidence shaken. It has to, Emily whispered back, feeling the device pulse in her pocket. My father believed in fighting for what's right. I won't let this stop me. Just then, the commotion echoed from below. Gunshots rang out, breaking the night like shattering glass. Emily's heart thundered as she dropped instinctively to the ground, fear coursing through her. Let us go. She hissed urgently to Alex. They scrambled up to the roof's edge, clutching the device as they set it up. The cityscape spread out beneath them, every light a flicker of hope against the darkness encircling their lives. Now what? Alex asked, adrenaline crunching in his voice. Now we fight back, Emily shouted, her heart full. Empowered by what was at stake, her brother back, their lives intertwined in this fight, they turned their tragedy into action. With the world at their fingertips, they could redefine everything that came before them. Just as the dawn started to break, the plan unfolded. Each pulse of the device revealed tactical weaknesses in the gang's approach. They shifted tactics, outsmarting their pursuers with insights their father left for them, reclaiming their narrative, one daring step at a time. They were no longer just pawns in a game they didn't understand. They'd become the players, ready to take on whatever came next. The truth awaited them, and it was empowering. And in this moment, Emily knew they'd fight, not just for survival, but for every lost chance, every stolen day. They'd fight with every ounce of strength they had, refusing to let the shadows consume them. Make this their battle cry. Because now, this was their fight and they were prepared to win. If you've loved this story, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about how it all ends. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Together, we'll take every story to the next level. Let us go.